Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Victor here with Eclectic Soundtrax podcast. Joining us today, always, is Mr. Skunk Manhattan and Amy Atchley. I got that right? So, Amy, you're a Texas-based singer-songwriter known for ethereal vocals, catchy melodies, blending pop, indie rock, folk, classical influences. You have 5 solo albums with original music and performances across Central Texas and New York City. Wow, that's cool. You earned your regional jazz buzz with your most recent album, Sometimes a Woman is King, Amy. You've also contributed to national jingles. Yeah, well, cool. I need to get in on that. Worked with VH1, Save the Music Foundation, restoring 99 music education programs across the U.S. Very awesome. She's also a community advocate, supporting underserved groups and environmental wellness. Amy lives in Austin with your family. Her songs rumble with emotion, as quoted by the New York Times. Amy, thank you for showing up and hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I got to state this right away. The reason Amy's on the podcast is we have met through the 1159 songwriting group, and I'm sure there's a lot of Austin musicians that know Dave Madden, and it's just such a fantastic group and so many amazing musicians and songwriters of all different walks, all different genres and styles. And I was talking to your husband at the party that we always have after the what a cool dude and what an incredible musician. Oh my gosh, speaking of jazz, I really need to go see him. Tell us your husband's name, please.
His name is Elias Haslanger.
Right.
Yeah,
I gotta come. And do you guys play together? When we kind of came in and it started, I had just asked you, how long you'd been married and when you guys met, and so yeah, let's go there for a minute. Tell us how you guys met.
Yeah, we both were in music school at the University of Texas, and I was a vocal performance major, and Eli was a jazz major, and we met. We had one of our very first composition classes our freshman year. We met, and we were both together with other people at the time. But I remember the day I met him, and he remembered the day that he met me in that class. And we didn't get together until about 4 years later, but I always admired him so much. He was one of the best musicians in the program, and I would go hear him play jazz, and he was always a supporter of my music as well. So yeah.
Vic and I have a very similar story. Vic used to, took 4 years, but used to come see me play. Actually, that was our bond in terms of we never got married, but music, and it led years later after we met in a Spanish class, in a college Spanish class. We would just go kind of knock off and drink beer afterwards and talk about music and stuff. And years later, actually when COVID happened, Vic was like, "Hey, I'm doing this voiceover stuff," and was thinking about starting a podcast. And I was like, "Yeah, I've always wanted to do that, but just never took the initiative." So yeah, it's interesting though how you meet people and you just kind of right. You just there's just I don't know. Did you have immediately you guys just had a connection, and then it was a friendship and supporting and kind of blossomed into a relationship?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we were just kind of, it's just such an exciting time in your life to be like going for it in your music for the first time. You're an adult, becoming an adult, and it was just a real special time, and we had that music connection, absolutely, 100%.
Now you're originally
still do.
You're originally from Galveston, and you went to UT, but so where does New York fit into this? Were you were living in New York for a while, performing up there, or is that more of a touring thing? Like, tell us about the New York stuff.
Yeah. So actually, I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, but also I always put Galveston because my parents had a place on the coast growing up, and those are my best memories. Very inspired, and I still can't wait to get back to the sea any chance that I get. But the New York came into play after college. I had been in a couple of bands in the news that were critically acclaimed here in Austin and across the U.S. One was called Fabu, and another one was called Hush, and they were both fronted by women artists, 2 women. Fabu actually was a trio that also had a good friend who was male, and we had that really beautiful 3-part harmony. But both of those bands did very well. We toured quite a bit, and those bands took me all over the country. But after that, I started my solo career here in Austin, and in like 1999, just decided, I want to move to New York. And I actually went to see a friend of mine who was living there, and I booked a show pretty easily at the Living Room which was at the time a very hot room to play. I went up and played the gig and I was like, I got to do this. And I just was ready for something new. And so Eli had been trying to convince me to go up there for a while. And I think I just had to kind of see it for myself. And so we went up there and we're there for about 5 years and doing just, we were up there to do our music. And, at the time in Austin, those days, you really could kind of make it doing just music with maybe, like I was a barista at a coffee house, like a job. And it was easy to live in Austin. And when we went to New York, we had a rude awakening. We were like, oh my God, we got to get jobs because, we're not gonna be able to stay. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And that meant for us getting jobs to support our music and our livelihood in that way. So I landed a great job. I worked at MTV Networks, at VH1, Save the Music Foundation. Because I'm an artist and a musician, I got to work on those programs where I was an ambassador to talent to do these delivery events where we would go into the schools, the underserved schools that were losing their music programs, and we would deliver the instruments and get the superintendents and the city officials to agree to support these programs for at least 5 years. And I would play the events as well as all the while having a very vibrant career in New York City as a singer-songwriter. I had a residency at the Bitter End. I played every once a month on Wednesdays there at the Bitter End, and then other venues, CBGB's Gallery, as well as Arlene's Grocery, and again, the living room. Just, it was a wonderful scene, very much like Austin, a very open scene, were very supportive. And I had a jingle career up there as well. So I'm kind of giving a long answer to your question.
No,
so
that's great.
Pause.
What borough are you living in?
Brooklyn. We lived in Park Slope, yeah.
Okay, and those venues, are they spread about, or are those Brooklyn venues? I can't remember where CBGB's, if that was Brooklyn or Manhattan.
I played primarily in Manhattan. I did a couple of things in Brooklyn, but my main thing was in Manhattan, and they were all kind of, Lower East Side, kind of clumped in and together.
It's like Brooklyn at the time. Brooklyn's become this really hip, and I mean, everything's like a jillion times more expensive. I'm sure you guys were like, we're going to move back to Austin where it's cheap. And then never mind. But like, no, Austin's cool now. The secret's out, everything's crazy expensive. But when you were there, have you seen a lot of changes, I guess, to Brooklyn? I don't know when the last time you might have been back, because it's kind of like was kind of hip and up and coming. Has grown a lot in the last 20 years, right? And just kind of changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn, we loved it from the very beginning. And it really was what we could afford, and, Park Slope at the time, it was kind of on the fringe, it was not what it is today. And now, I mean, it's just the most expensive neighborhood, even more so than Manhattan. It's very kind of yuppie and, lots of dogs and babies and that kind of thing. But we loved it, and we did start seeing that transformation. We were there for about 5 years, so we started to see it beginning to happen when we left. But we were in the same apartment that we got immediately. Eli had come up there, and just landed this amazing apartment. It was that's another crazy story, maybe for another time. But it was a great apartment. We could see the towers from our living room.
Oh, wow. That is wild. So I didn't even think about that. You were there when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we were there, experienced that, and changed my life in a lot of ways. I'll never forget it. We were in the middle of it. I was in Times Square, and Eli was in Rockefeller Plaza. And
oh, wow, you were there in Manhattan the day it had when
I was there. I was running Contraflow.
Wow.
Standing in the middle of Times Square, and I was running to a studio that I rehearsed in and recorded in the New Yorker Hotel, because that's a safe haven that I could go to. And, planes were coming down really low, and everybody would drop on the ground, and we didn't know, who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. And you were thinking, are we getting bombed as you're running? So it was definitely, just a heart-wrenching experience, unbelievable experience as an American to be in the middle of something like that. Like I said, it did change me forever, but it also was the best time, I think, to be in New York. I never have felt such community as that time.
Right.
And I think that really connected us to that community like nothing else. And we all keep in touch, the group of us that kind of went through that together.
That's amazing. It's so awful that this tends to happen, all the time. But the worst, most tragic moments, it's like all of a sudden, all the other things that people are arguing and bickering over, and then things have gotten, I mean, it's seemingly exponentially more polarized and worse than they ever were, looking back 20 plus years ago. But yeah, I remember no matter where you were in the country, like that was an incredible unification of the entire country. And I imagine it was exponentially stronger, of course, in New York,
Yeah, I mean,
Just
there's no race, there's no color,
right.
there's no class differences. We're just human beings, and we all want the same thing. We want to be loved, we want to love, we want to be safe. It really strips it down to that, very, very much in a raw way.
And those horrible moments really do bring out the best in people. I mean, you see the how amazing so many people really are. It's almost like, oh my gosh, like I almost feel like I'm getting choked up even talking about it. I had never been to New York, and I went there. It hit. Let's see, I was in LA when it happened, and then by the time I even went to New York, I want to say it was maybe 2004. It was like 3 years later, and I mean, there was still a big hole in the ground. They were still, cleaning up. It was incredible, and I mean, going to that site, Ground Zero, at the time, it was incredibly emotional, even that, after that, how much time had passed. And it's funny, now you go and everything's normal, and whether the Freedom Tower, and I've been up there, and it's, business as usual. But yeah, it's like anything, right? Nobody who wasn't alive that experienced that, or especially the people who are in New York, it's kind of a touchy subject to talk on it otherwise, right? Because it's really easy to live through. If you haven't lived through something, you sort of go, oh, well, here are my thoughts on everything. You're like, yeah, but you did not experience that in real time, and it was something you can't explain. Be like us yapping about Pearl Harbor, right?
Right.
We weren't there,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a story for our generation, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to make the whole podcast a big downer about that, but that's pretty incredible, though, that you experienced that and that you lived there, and everything about that's really cool, actually. I'm looking at just some stuff on your website, and some names that catch my eye. Well, actually, your latest album, which came out in 2023, Sometimes a Woman is King, appropriate. We're talking just here after International Women's Day, and we're going to actually talk about, we're going to do a playlist today with female artists, influences of yours, influences for me and Vic, some of our favorites. And some of the names on your bio on your website are some artists that I love. Fiona Apple. I was such a huge Fiona Apple fan when she came out. Are these comparisons that have been made to you? I can see that totally, actually, because immediately when I went and listened to your music, it's so hard to keep up with all the 11:59 stuff. And sometimes I've been like, I'm going to listen through. This time I was just I didn't really listen to anybody's stuff. And then like the week of when everything wrapped, the last song on the party, I was like, oh man, I need to really go. And I think I got through like 2 prompts of like everybody, and I'm still kind of listening. But I listen to a lot. I can't imagine Dave. He must be the only one that gets through it. It's so much music, and it's so much amazing music. And fortunately for you, your name's right at the top, Amy, right? Because it's alphabetical, and where the Dropbox links are above our demos and song ideas. And some people will submit these just polished, brilliant, recordings, and a lot of it are, last minute phone demos. But either way, right, as a songwriter, as anyone who's in that world, you see where people are going, even if it's a phone demo, and you see the potential. And great songs often are just based on a handful of chords, or even 2 chords and a melody, right? But your stuff was like, I like the, for lack of a better word, I mean, the simplicity in terms of like, I wouldn't be like, oh, this girl's a jazzer, it's like simple piano chords, a beautiful melody. And I immediately liked your music, and I actually went through and listened to all 4 of your albums on Spotify, and good stuff on all of them. But I think we'll talk about, I'm probably most familiar with the latest one, and we'll talk about that. Sometimes a Woman is King, recorded here in Austin. Let's see. Tell us about that, who you recorded it with. Give us a little background on this album.
Yeah, so I started this record, and he's a local guy here, but he's done a ton of international stuff. He toured with Oasis, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with his repertoire, but he
did not know that.
he's got actually a new record coming out right now. But we decided to make a record together. I didn't really know Robert, but I had a lot of different people that were saying, you need to meet Robert, and Robert, you need to meet Amy. And so we met, got together, played some music together, and I knew that I wanted to try a couple of tracks with him. And so we decided to do that. And then it was going really well, and I decided I wanted to go ahead and do a full record with him. And so we did, and it was the longest record that I've ever recorded. It took me forever to get through it because of the pandemic. There was a lot of stopping and starting, and we kind of decided to become a bubble, when people had their bubble, and so we would do that. We did that to finish the record, but I still had to, get the rest of the band tracked and all that as well. So he had a little studio out in the hill country in Dripping Springs. And so it was just a little escape where we go out and just get, really deep dive into music. And we had great conversations about the different artists that we were listening to and the sounds that we wanted to go for. And just, it was a wonderful artistic experience. And yeah, we decided to finally release it. And it took, like I said, it took me forever, but in February of 2023.
Yeah. I mean, I think the brakes got put on for everybody, obviously, when COVID happened, and anything that was happening in 2020, it was at least 2 years, it seemed like, before anything started coming to fruition. Not during a pandemic, not that you ever want that situation, but I do remember at that time too. I mean, Vic and I started this podcast, and we were just talking to people twice a week because there was nothing else to do. I was creating all kinds of weird random music and kind of having a great time because, like you said, we weren't in a bubble and there wasn't anything you could really do outside of that. So that kind of adds to that aesthetic, the cabin studio in the hill country, what a perfect, I guess in a situation like that, you can't ask for a better, okay, we'll just kind of buckle down and work on music and get intimate
music,
with it. You can't really do anything else. So in that sense, I think, a lot of people there might've been a lot of good creative outlets and things that came out of that time. I mean, that's probably the only good thing, but yeah, so that's cool. I mean, the new album is really great. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
But you always have good, I think your songs are, they, it's not that there's not a band, but it starts from, I think, the right simple place, right? And I mean, for me too, and maybe how do you feel working with the producer in terms of what they bring? I feel like sometimes I'm the one that wants to more layers. And sometimes it's good to have someone go, maybe we don't need that seventh guitar harmony. Like, are you there? It's like, this is my tune with a piano and my voice, and then you kind of build it together with someone else? Or do you go in having a lot of ideas and then kind of back and forth with the producer? Like, do you have a process there really, or?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's evolved quite a bit just over the years. When I was I've worked with so many different producers, but a lot of them start out sort of as engineers, or they're the guitar player in my band that's also producing, engineering records. So it's kind of been that sort of thing. The one I did in New York was produced by Steve Walsh, and it went all mixing it at the Hit Factory, and that was a great experience. And I really did try to sort of let go, and that was sort of a new thing for me. And then I guess the last record, I had 2 records before I did the last one. So this last one with Robert, I really did seek out a producer that I could really have someone come in and just, kind of strip things down and tell me I really wanted to lean into that.
Yeah.
And, that was super cool. But I'll tell you what, something that's happened really with 1159, and again, it's back to kind of what you're talking about. There's sort of this innovation thing that's happening. Like, for example, the pandemic, there was so much that we couldn't do, but what could we do? And as a society, so much innovation, like you guys started this new, adventure here. And I think what happened, with me recently, like with the 1159, is I didn't really have the studio, like you said. I have a song and I can play guitar or piano, and I have a way to record those things, right? But it's not a professional studio thing, but I really made me realize that I kind of do know what I want,
Right.
I kind of do. And like, I know like what the melodies that I want harmonically on there, especially vocals. I know what I want on the instrumentation, and some of it I accomplished on those really bare tracks. But yeah, I think I'm in a place now. I'm getting ready. Hopefully, I'm trying to do another record. I've got a whole, as you know,
Cool.
we all have another collection of songs, right?
God, yes, definitely.
So I'm ready, and I do think I'm going to go back into that producer seat again a little bit more,
Mhm.
just because I think I know.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, there's certainly no right or wrong way to do it. I do sometimes I've seen artists, and when I say young, I mean it isn't not necessarily age based, but I mean myself and so many people included, you realize, especially when you're younger, it's like or green in the studio, and you're like, man, that's I think producers are so valuable because they really can help you craft a song. You think you might know everything, but you definitely don't. And you look back, you're like, yeah, that's a little, this could have been
Yeah.
done. You could have made it more interesting this way. And I like having, whether it's, other people that I work with, bandmates or longtime co-writers or producers, whoever, like, it's nice having that. It's all about, I think, trust, in terms of everybody wants
Yeah.
the same song, having a vision, knowing kind of what, well, this is my individual track. Like one thing I love about 1159 is writing stuff completely different from anything I do in my rock band. It's completely, and a lot of things I do, I go in with like, I'm feeling like a Randy Newman vibe, or I'm feeling this vibe or that. And then I just roll with that, and also for me, I told Dave it was like a speed writing chat. It's usually the last day and I'm like, okay, I need to write a song in the next 3 hours. I'm at a piano and I just got off work. Okay, what can we do?
Yes, I
So
know.
it's actually kind of a good exercise in that sense, and even the
Yeah.
ones that I like, sometimes I'm like, wow, I landed something really cool, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, that was phoned in, whatever, no, get generic. And then every now and then there's something that's just like there's a seed of real potential, and the rest of it's kind of
Yeah.
like not there, but like the hook is there, or that. Do you have is there anything for you that it's like, man, I always write, this always comes real fast, but it's this thing that usually takes the time? I mean, I'm sure every song is different, but is it music or lyrics, or do you write music first and hum melodies? I think a lot of artists work that way, right? But or do you try to fit lyrics to melodies, or is it different every time?
It really is different every
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Gonna be the song, and
Hmm.
it evolved into something completely different. And
Yeah.
like even full fledged, like I have songs that I've recorded not fully, like I'm gonna make this the song and it's done, but I've got I've got it all together, and then it's just not true to me. So I've moved on. And that the worst part about that is that a lot of times, like you're talking about, it happens like the day before. It's like I have to be true to myself and I follow that. But yeah, I mean, I think probably for me is I sit down, I really like, I think I prefer writing on piano. Just I've been playing piano since I was little, and
I
it's
love
just more
writing on
natural.
piano. Yeah.
I write a little differently on piano than I do on guitar, but I just like my favorite way to write is to sit down and just start playing some piano, and then immediately I start getting melodies. A
Hmm.
lot of times, on the best of days, when the muse's there, I'll get that, the lyric just comes like along with the melody, and then I've got something to hold on to, and I feel like inspired to see where it takes me.
Yeah. You got anything to interject, Vic? It's real easy for me to just kind of go off the nerd
Yeah,
rails on,
yeah,
songwriting
yeah.
stuff.
Well, being that I'm not a musician, no, it sounds like a cult you guys are in. So
Feels
ritual
like it.
sacrifices, yeah, last minute sacrifices. It sounds like no. How many people in this group? Because I know we've had a few people on from, was it 1159, right?
Yeah, we've had
Yeah,
boy, I feel like I'm probably going to forget somebody now and feel really bad, but we had Ray Prim, might have been our
yeah,
first. We had
yep,
Natalie Price,
yep.
both just unbelievable songwriters, two of my absolute favorites in Austin. And Ray is just so prolific, it's insane. And we had Emily Shirley, who I love
Nice.
her music, and she's with Bell Sounds with Noel, which I just love. Bell Sounds, I love Emily's original music, and she's a great graphic designer, which I worked with her a lot as well. And I'm sure I should go through and look, because I bet there's more, but I'm going to feel really bad for leaving someone out. But those three popped
I
in my
love your
head.
shout out in the group, so thank you for doing
Yeah,
that.
I figured I would do it. And I mean, I just really like, I mean, I know Spotify is just the devil for us musicians, and a lot of people hate it and ban it, and we don't get paid, and the devalue of music, and we all know the deal. But personally, their platform, the way it's laid out, is I just that's what I use and I like it. So I just, we started making playlists on this show, and I made an 11:59 playlist. And yeah, it's just kind of cool. Like sometimes it takes a while to get around to it, but once I do, and I think it's amazing from the guests we've had on the show, whether they're 11:59 or anybody from around the globe, especially since we started doing the playlist and talking about even more artists. I have just discovered so much incredible music that I never otherwise probably would have ever heard of. Right.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that aspect of it. I just can't help myself. I like started a festival. I mean, it's not like it's monetarily helping me or doing anything, but to me, like the excitement of discovering artists. And I think that's just something I've always enjoyed. Right. And so, and everybody knows who the big ones are. We could talk about Taylor Swift and Metallica, but everybody knows those artists. So for me, it's
Who's
exciting
Metallica?
to go. Well, not Vic, but
Yeah.
Vic's just a Swiftie. He doesn't even know
That's it.
anything else. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Swift. Taylor
Yeah.
Swift and nothing else. That's
Nothing else.
Vic's
That's right.
narrow-minded.
Like one of
Yeah.
those.
He's
Okay,
one of
got
those.
it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just finding like so much talent. So it was cool that you responded, because I think I did that a few years ago, and Natalie responded. I think I might have reached out to Ray. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool to meet people that way too, and go, oh yeah, like I said, talking with your husband at the party, and it's just going like all these amazing musicians. And I need to, every time I say like, oh, I really need to co-write more, and then I don't, like
I know. Yeah.
I've had a few musicians on recordings that are in the group, but in terms of like really co-writing, it's something I really want to do, because I've never really done it in that style, right? Which I think more to the singer-songwriter style or whatever stuff that I'm doing in that group, which is different from sort of band type stuff or stuff that I typically, write or co-wrote with my brother, who we have kind of a long writing together kind of thing. But anyway, what was that Vic said? Something about a cult. I forget what got me yapping on that tangent now. Now I'm going and looking at the playlist, but
yeah, no, you were asking if I had any questions, and I'm like, I don't know. You guys were geeking out and something about being in a cult, and I'm not.
You mentioned something about how many members there are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually like somewhere, I would say, in the ballpark of 50 plus each year. Okay. And there's a lot of returns. There's a lot of people that have been there. There's a good amount from the get-go, and then some that have, I mean, I've been there for all 8. I think it's been 8 years. It's incredible. Or this was year 7 or year 8. How long have you been a member?
This is my second year.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being at a mixer function thing one time, and Dave had the idea. It was the embryo, and he was just starting to kind of throw it around, and he asked me. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And just to have seen this thing grow. And the one thing about Dave Madden, we all know, I mean, not only is he a phenomenal musician, he's a great writer, and he's very obviously very well educated and very well spoken, and I love that. I take that stuff seriously too. I can't stand sloppy writing, but yeah, the care that he puts into the prompts each year is incredible, right? And I think it's super inspiring, and it's stuff that it makes you write songs you wouldn't write. I wouldn't go into speaking of what you said too, I wrote I think 3 songs for Smile, the first prompt, and they were just the kind of songs I would, especially 2 of them, that I would never write, but I like to go. I was kind of doing the 2-chord, not mopey, but I think it was cool. But I was like, no, come on, go somewhere else with it, right? Try to do something different. We all have our default patterns that we fall into, and themes that we fall into. And I mean, sometimes I got a new keyboard at the beginning of last year, and the whole first prompt I did was just keyboard sounds, and it was that was Zulu. Remember that one?
Yeah.
The Zulu, Ubuntu. Yes.
Which was Zulu.
Yeah. I ended up going back and watching these old movies from my dad's this big history guy. So I know those old war movies from when I was a kid. I watched Zulu, and Zulu with Michael Caine. What a great film, by the way. And Zulu Dawn. And and then I started writing this one song, and I was even looking up Zulu language of trying to come up with some words in a different, you just do crazy things that you wouldn't do. Right. So I think that's a super cool thing, but
absolutely.
So
go ahead. Yeah.
So the songwriting club, so you're given an assignment, it sounds like, right? So for the non-musicians like myself, right? So how does this work? Is it a new song per month, or what is the
every 2 weeks for the first 2 months of the year?
Okay. And so
it starts at the 1st of January, and then I guess what day does it start? Is it on January 1st?
On the 1st. And so then you have 2 weeks, and it's you have until 11:59 of that night, 2 weeks out to turn in your assignment.
Which
and
is when you do it, right? You turn yours in.
Yeah, I usually start about 9 p.m. the night of. Nothing's changed since we met, Vic. Like,
Yeah.
it's just I'm less Baracho these days, but
Yeah.
still
Same here.
procrastinating. Yeah, but it's super cool. And then we should plug the show. What day is the show? I know I have it on my calendar somewhere. It's like
I do
April,
too.
early April.
I want to say April 4th.
That sounds right, because I know I have another gig like the very next day or something, like right in that.
April 4th, Saxon Pub.
Yeah,
8
Saxon
o'clock.
Pub.
Okay.
So Austin
Yes.
people, come on out and you will just witness. It'll be a song from a lot of different people in the group. Not everybody will perform, but I think there's 4 people per prompt is how it's been in the past. So you get about 16 performers with a house band and just a great variety of music with amazing songwriters, some which you may have seen and heard and be fans of, and some which you probably haven't. And they're all pretty incredible.
So it's every 2 weeks you write a song, you submit it. And so is it like presented to everybody and everybody gives feedback, or like how does that happen?
Yeah.
You upload it. Yeah.
Upload it.
Sorry, go ahead, Amy.
No, you upload it to Dropbox, and then you upload it to whatever platform you want. Well, first you upload it to whatever platform you want people to listen to it on, and it's been SoundCloud, but putting mine as a private link on my website because SoundCloud was that's why I had a hard time listening to people this year, is because anytime I would try to listen on SoundCloud on my phone, it would pop me out of their song for some reason. So you have to
I never even used that platform, and it's the only time when I'm like, oh, I'm going to put something in the Facebook group, and I'm like, oh crap, I can't just load an MP3, so I'll like throw it onto SoundCloud so I can like do a link or whatever for the Facebook group.
I do like the Facebook group, and I listen to everyone that is on the Facebook group because it's easy. It's just right there, and I'll listen. I ended up listening to a lot of those on my desktop computer because I didn't have the SoundCloud problem. I would have it on my phone. But that's a lot of technology in there, a lot of different places for it.
I was going to say you could upload it to YouTube as an unlisted video and then just have YouTube generate.
I think I might have done that
video.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the reason I ask it sounds very similar to like, some voiceover like classes that I'll take. It's like they give you an assignment. And so you've got a whole week to like do this, do a couple of takes on a particular piece of copy they give you. And some of it's something you may not have done before that kind of stretches your limits. And then you come back the next week, you get another assignment, but then they go through everybody's voiceovers. Right. And so it's like, you have one take that's like super excited. Like I did one for like, let's say Coors. Right. So that was kind of like campfire type beach, cool, slow. And then I had another one that I did for Red Bull, which was way more excited. Right. So it's totally different than I've ever done before. So, and then like some other people had like Domino's Pizza, and these are all like commercials that have been done already and people have been paid for. But so this is just like practice stuff, but yeah, that's cool.
I love it. That's awesome.
I found the other guest, and I think this is all of them. One of our favorite podcasts. He was a relatively early guest, Dave Scherer.
Oh yeah,
was on the show. Yeah. I love Dave. We saw him out at the NAMM show this year, actually, just destroying it on. He's such a great player and a cool dude. I love Dave.
There's so much talent in that group, absolutely, and that I think is part of the reason why everyone wants to put their best foot forward when we're posting our music, because people do listen to it, and
you know what's cool about that too, because you kind of have to be a songwriter to understand this. Like, there will be like, you can't just send your friend like a demo, like, and be like, dude, check it out. And they're going to be like, okay, like, because in your head, what it's going to be. And you're like, you know where it's going to go, and you can see the end game. But so within a group like this, though, someone else can hear a real simple phone demo or kind of a demo with crap. And they're not going to be like, the vocals are terrible. And oh my God, and those drums are bad, and the mix is it's like, no, none of that matters. It's just like, it's an embryo of where things are. I don't know if you're like this. I do have demos from the past, especially, where it's just like, oh my God, like, sorry, I have a bounce and I don't have the original files anymore, and I know how bad my vocals sound, but I know like can we extract those? Now you can just, I'm literally about to do a song. I'm like, hey, can you extract these vocals with AI? So we don't have to suffer through them in the studio when we're tracking the real, stuff to it.
I don't think AI is that good yet.
No, it is. There's a program, I think it's called like Moises or something. I'm sure there's several programs, but where they,
Are you sure it's not Moses and you're praying to God to like separate your vocals from the
I mean,
track?
I've already tried that. I'm pretty sure the vocals are still there, right? So, let's go on this topic actually, because we haven't really talked about this a lot on the podcast, but obviously AI has become a huge thing in music and in our world just in the last few years. Like AI is now a common speak. And I feel like a lot of musicians are, I think it
Terminator.
makes sense to be kind of well, that's me and my apocalyptic cynical views that the whole
Yeah,
thing's going to go way south and we're going to be fighting robots and it's going
I'm
to be a
ready for it.
disaster. But
Let's go.
but I mean, Vic, you just want to like do takedowns on robots and pull out.
I
You want to get
do.
like all your old Marine stuff involved, and
Oh yeah.
we're gonna call you up, dude. I'm gonna come hide out in your bunker whenever the shit hits the fan. But the what are your thoughts on AI and music? I mean, I know that's a super broad question and the generic. I mean, it would be easy to say, well, I think it's good and bad, right? But I mean, do you have any really specific thoughts on this stuff?
So I do, I think that AI, that term is so broad,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it does create like a lot of fear. I certainly don't want it to have anything to do with the creation of art. Now, if it is going to be something that is a tool that maybe something is used to polish or something like that, it's not very different than a lot of the tools that are used in the studio today. Although I'm not a fan of like auto tune or anything like that, and that's because I am a singer and I'm very old school like that. So I think, if I had to say yes or no, it would be no. But I also see the writing on the wall, and I think that we have an opportunity right now to really shape what that is before it kind of gets away from us. And really, what is it? AI is only as smart as the information that is inputted into the device. So we have
Hmm.
to really think about what that is. What is that information, and how far do we want to take it? And I think especially as an independent artist, I really it's a little scary just kind of thinking about where this could go and how it could even take up more real estate than some of the music that's produced out there that's really mainstream, that is not like pure music. It's very
I
like already auto generated
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah. Very contrived, and it's a paint by numbers game, right? And AI can do that instantly, and give you
Right.
whatever you want. And I agree, that part of it I don't like at all. In terms of, I think we've all opened up to the modern world in terms of what modern recording is. But I agree, that was a great answer. I agree 100% in terms of like being in the studio and having the tools, the modern digital tools for arrangement and writing purposes. That's great, but I this is like my only criteria really. Like if you're horrible and screaming and yelling and banging on pots and pans, if I feel, to me, this is personal, if that's coming from a legitimate place of emotion and there's, I don't know if it's
Right.
genuine, like that's what I care about. As long as but I feel like there is a lot of stuff that is just so, I mean, where every single thing is on a grid and it's all auto. You can hear it. You can hear it in the biggest commercial music in the world. I'm sitting there in a shopping mall or HEB or something. I hear a song, I'm like, my God, that auto tune. And I mean, I get it that it's for sometimes like it's, the point is like the famous Cher song where it's like, oh, it is the point to sound like a robot, right? And there's a lot of stuff in certain styles of music and maybe more in so in like hip hop and stuff where that's part of the genre at the moment, which okay. But when I hear it where it's not supposed to be, I'm like, geez, that's terrible. And it's just, where's the authentic?
In that.
Yeah, where's the authenticity in the performance? And so a compliment to you. And I think so many people like,
No.
yeah, I hear your music. And that's not what I hear at all. It's like, and me not being a great singer. I mean, I don't know. Some engineers use stuff. I've used a little Melodyne here and there, but a lot of stuff is raw and it's not on there. It's cool both ways, depending on the context of the song and what you might need. I mean, where you use it, how you use it. But like, yeah, I think it's all about where is it really coming from though, and like, is it genuine? Like that for me
Yeah.
is like the most important thing, because that's what makes an artist. That to me is
That's
like
right.
I'm listening to an artist. I'm not listening to a robot, a set of parameters that someone typed into a computer, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we connect with authenticity, right?
Yeah.
that's what music is, and that's what art is, and we so as humanity, to preserve humanity, we so need that. And I think we are at a very critical time right now where AI and other things, barriers and censors and things like that, censoring art. It's a very interesting time that we're going to have to do our best, I think, to kind of, continuing to create real art.
I so agree with you on everything you said there. One thing, let's kind of segue this into just sort of causes you worked with before, or kind of at the top of the podcast, you were talking a little bit about. I guess I'll let you take it from there. Causes, things you've been involved with,
Keeping music
So-
in schools.
that
Absolutely,
stuff,
yes.
that stuff.
Yeah, so
I knew it was something good.
when I moved to New York and I started working at VH1, I got into the VH1 Save the Music Foundation. I loved it so much because I was working with youth at risk, young kids who are disadvantaged communities, or coming from disadvantaged communities. Music could really be life changing for them, and it really is also about brain power. Music is brain power. It's not just
Yeah.
teaching kids to be a rock star. It really isn't about that. I mean, if that's the dream, I mean, it's really about enabling a dream. What is your dream for kids? Because if once you lose the ability to dream, then I think we need to maintain that even through adulthood.
Yes, and self-expression and identity, right? It's an identity. And one thing I love about teaching music is my big thing is to try to put it across like, look, you're learning a language. Like this is something you will carry with you forever. And the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want with it or not do. But now you're speaking a language, and it just opens up a whole other facet of beauty that this thing has to offer us all as human beings, and I think that is such a beautiful thing that it takes me back to the thing that made me want to start playing music. And sure, I wanted to be a rock star, like, all that stuff. But it's like, I get probably more joy nowadays of kind of sharing that in a teaching capacity usually than I do of anything business related. That stuff I hate,
Yeah.
But when I'm sharing other people's music, like whether I'm featuring artists or talking with artists, listening to artists, sharing that with students, sharing the language, to me, like, that's where the beauty lies, right? Is in that. And I think, and I hope that, like you said, I really hope that is what, at the end of the day, prolongs this and won't allow AI ultimately to destroy this thing, is because of the desire for human connection and the emotional quality that cannot be replicated, right? That really makes that an authentic relationship between people, whether they're doing it in real time, whether they know each other, whether they're across the globe, it doesn't matter, right? That's what's so powerful and magical about it.
Yeah, and I love that you said it's a language, because it really is a universal language, and I do think that creativity has solved many of the world's greatest challenges. So, that's so essential.
Oftentimes artists, I mean, they can be, don't get me wrong, artists can be really obnoxious and arrogant and whatnot. But I think, and when you have a platform to do it, but like one thing I think also though is, like, you're right. I think a lot of times artists in all kinds of capacities, they are the truth tellers, when no one else can say it. It can be said through music. It can be said through comedy. It can be said through certain. And so for me, and I think a lot of artists, no matter kind of where you stand on a lot of things, I mean, there is that, you said something about censorship. And I mean, I tend to lean, on the side opposing it, because sometimes, I mean, if you look at some of the people that pushed the envelope, they were hated, and it just, but we look at them now as very legitimate artists, and we're lucky to have them, that they did. And this is throughout history, right? Regardless of what century we're talking about, they pushed art and in that sense, I think, humanity further, right? They push the boundaries of what it means to be human.
And I think that is ancient history that we are experiencing today, is just people trying to censor others, censorship against whether it's written word or just philosophy or what have you. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new. We keep reliving this stuff, for sure. But yeah, other causes near and dear to my heart. When I came back to Austin, I didn't have MTV networks to work for, but I still that aspect that I got from that role, that was one piece of my role at MTV Networks, but I worked on a lot of the shows there and whatnot, Divas and Vogue Fashion Awards, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame shows, Fairway to Heaven, all those.
In what
shows.
capacity?
Well, I did a couple of different things, mostly with ad sales. So I would do like write scripts to customize to certain markets to basically sell out these programs, because the money that was generated from the concerts went back to VH1 Save the Music Foundation.
Okay.
But I would go to the events. One of the best events that I worked on series was called Crossroads, which was a cross between country music and pop or rock and roll. And they would take one artist. For example, we had Elton John and Ryan Adams were going to be at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And so the most VIP ad sales people would get access to a concert with artists like this, with the capacity of maybe like 125 people getting to see this concert. And so, quick little story, I'm going to pivot just a bit because this is a great story. That particular concert was very interesting because it was running behind and running late and running late and running late. And apparently, the last minute, Ryan Adams was needing to cancel at the last minute. And we had all these people waiting, and there was a lot of money on the line for this, to raise money for this particular concert. And Elton John was waiting, by the way. And he canceled the concert. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it, but he canceled because he was a little bit over the top with a certain particular substance or two and was unable to perform. So Ryan Adams was so loved by Elton John, and Elton John wanted to really protect him. So he came out and said, look, I'll still do the show. I'm going to play a 45-minute set, and I will bring Ryan's band on stage for me for the last song. And that's what he did. And so there's like 125 people sitting around the piano with Elton John playing.
Good Lord, can you imagine?
He brings on his Ryan Adams band to play the last song. And so he wanted to make good on that for himself, that he promised to perform, and also to take care of his friend Ryan Adams.
I would imagine as a pianist, you've got some heavy Elton John. I mean, I feel like any rock dude who also plays piano is just an Elton John fanatic, myself included, like.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'm so glad I finally got to see him at the Circuit of Americas on one of the races. I don't know, it's probably been a decade at this point, but oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yeah, incredible. That's one of the highest levels you're going to get right there.
And to be that intimate with someone like that and see them doing that for someone and not being a diva and panting about it, or is that the right word? But
I did experience a lot of divas, a lot of artists that weren't divas, that weren't very nice to work with, and I won't get into those people's names, but we did have some other wonderful shows. One in particular that was so incredible was Lucinda Williams and Elvis Costello, and got to sit right next to Elvis Costello, and he called her Lou. He would say, "Oh, Lou, you're so wonderful." And that was great. Emmylou Harris and Dave Matthews. And Emmylou, her voice is like, I don't know if you've ever seen her live before, but if you haven't and you get a chance, I recommend it, because it is from heaven, the angels' voices from heaven with Emmylou Harris. But yeah, I mean, that was a great time. And it made me really just, the impact of that and being able to restore music through these shows was so powerful to me. And when I came back to Austin, I wanted to work in some type of capacity of helping others. I knew that was kind of my calling, and I needed to do something so that I could continue my music and support myself. I wasn't touring or anything like that at the time. So I worked for Meals on Wheels of Central Texas.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I worked with them and worked as their marketing person and did a lot of events and fundraising with them. And then from there, most recently over at Austin Energy, where I'm working in climate impact, again, working with young people doing youth leadership programs around, protecting our beautiful planet Earth.
Very cool. Yeah, I was going to say something about that because I did see something about, sometimes, you Google someone too, and it's a musician and they have, like, wait, is this climate Climate Impact, is this the same Amy? Right, your name I feel like is unique enough though, where it's like, yeah, this is all the same person, right? Like, sometimes you got to dig a little bit, but no, that's very cool, and it's very cool that you stayed active and involved. It occurs to me when you're talking about all that stuff that that's actually how I met Dave Madden, was through a thing here. Don't know if it's still going or not. It was called Grounded in Music. And it was me, him, and David Longoria, drummer. I don't know if you know him. We were all the original instructors, and Michael Longoria, sorry, not David. Michael Longoria. Yeah, Michael Longoria. Yeah. And I mean, great guys, great musicians. And it was, I think it's sometimes, the expectations of something, and there's got to be funding. I did have a blast doing like fundraisers and stuff, and getting on stage with kids that didn't really have instruments, didn't have a lot, or maybe they did, a lot of them, it was through Boys and Girls Club setups where we had stuff. And and I thought a big part of it was, back to kind of the point of a lot of things, was just, it's different for everyone, right? But it was like, it's not so much about like, all right, you got to go practice your scales, kid with no guitar and coming from a broken home. It's like, you're there to be a role model and to make these kids feel good about themselves, to like encourage them, and maybe hopefully they discover like something they didn't know was even there that could become a part of their lives. And maybe if one kid out of 100, if that happens, that's amazing. And so I think there was a gratification through that about that. And I just loved sitting there and playing, especially like these kids, I want to play rock guitar, a little, coming of teenage years, and getting there and just we did a medley at the Gibson Room with guys like Jack Ingram and stuff played, and we were just up there playing, just playing rock and roll tunes, and these kids loved it. But yeah, I think that's so important, and I always love to see. I feel like that's something that, at least that I see, that maybe wasn't around as much when I was younger. Is there are a lot of programs, and schools have a lot of students that they have music classes and stuff in their schools, and not just elementary, like you play the triangle and you play the cymbal like in kindergarten. But I'm like, oh, this is cool, you're actually learning music in school. That's fantastic.
Well, it's, the arts are always one of the first things to get cut.
Right.
So it's just super important for everything that you said, especially just giving a kid just a chance to get excited about something. And, when you experience it with them, you see them light up, and there's nothing more important,
Yeah. It takes me back to that place, no matter what kind of frustrations I may have in whatever is going on in my life or with music or anything I'm dealing with. It's like when you're in that moment with someone who's never experienced all that nonsense, and they're just like, I want to play this instrument, and they have a eureka moment, and they're like, oh wow, this is, you're like, man, yeah, dude, right? Like, it's exciting. I get excited from that, and so I'm sure obviously someone who does the kind of work you do, regardless of whether it's with MTV or Austin Energy, like, these are things that you're passionate about. And when you get involved, and I think, and you inspire and are working with younger people in particular, in that, it kind of reignites a fire in yourself too. I think it kind of keeps us young and fresh in our own endeavors sometimes, and not just some begrudged, like, well, I used to play guitar.
Well, and for the kids, I'm very clear with them about the things that I'm doing, in terms of they are excited to know that my history is in music, because I always just tell them, you never know where your journey's going to take you. You got to follow your heart. And that's really kind of the underscore of all that work that I do. And I've also, translated that with my daughters. I have 2 young girls they're actually teens now. They're growing up too fast, but that's just been a real underscore always with them, is, follow your heart, and they know that they're loved, and they have the best of the situation that most kids, that all kids deserve, but not all kids have.
Right.
So it's a great, it's really a privilege to be in the position I'm in, to, work with young people, and then also to have my precious daughters.
Are your daughters Swifties like Vic, or?
You know what? They used to be when they were younger, and they like Taylor Swift very much.
No young girl is going to get away from that. Like, you're right.
Yeah. What a positive influence she is.
I don't know a lot about her, but I know that, like, pretty much any, early teens and below. I mean, it's been a few years now, but when I used to have, teach a lot of kids like that age, I mean, it's still not that much different. It's like, what do you want to learn? Taylor Swift, it's like, it's just, it's just everywhere. And I think her name has endured longer than right. Like I used to get a lot of Katy Perry. Not that they're still not huge and relevant, but Taylor Swift has just sort of never slowed down. It's just always been this upward ascent of just like domination of the pop market, right?
Man,
I can't say
like,
I've listened to a lot of her music. I don't have a problem with it or anything. She seems like a relatively positive role model, I suppose.
so
But
yeah, bringing it back to the songwriting conversation, breaking down one of her songs, you can really recognize her songwriting is incredible. I mean, I think it is.
what's it? Maybe we'll put a Taylor Swift song on the playlist. Do you have a Taylor Swift song that you could cite?
Yeah. Let me think about it because I am so bad. I'm going to have to think about it and listen because I don't know the names of songs.
Vic will give that. I don't know if you know this reference, but Vic will just give
James Dean white shirt. I love that one. You know which one that one is?
I was going to say if we ask Vic to pick a Taylor Swift song, it would just be the Office Space answer. We were like, oh, I just celebrate the whole catalog, just.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jay, I don't know. If you find the name of it, but let's segue. Let's go ahead and go into the playlist, right? Like, I'm going to give a shout out to. I mentioned her earlier. I just found out Natalie was moving to Nashville. Did you know that? Natalie Price.
I did not.
Yeah. So
she ought to. I think that's a great plan.
She's great. It's me, her, and Dave were like the last ones sitting around at the party the other day, and we were just kind of talking about that and talk about songwriting. And I told Natalie, I was like, I never even thought of this until we were all just talking. I was like, I'd love to sit down with you and just do a music. Let's just talk music. And like if I can enlighten you in any way before you go on your journey there, cool. Because I've always just had such a respect for her as a songwriter. I just really love her music.
Yeah.
But yeah, so shout out to Natalie. Speaking of women, International Women's Day, right? Just gonna shout out to Austin Natalie Price. Look at that. She signed my record. She's so cool.
What does she sign at? Yo Skank? Is that what is?
Yo, she should have put. You know what? I would have everybody start doing the Vernon Reid, dude. The my new one's just gonna be Skunk. You stink. That's how I'm gonna get people to sign my stuff from now on.
I like it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I had a guitar player do that recently. It was great.
I mean, you probably did.
So another one I'm going to shout out is this is crazy. Small World, 6 Degrees, all that stuff, right, Amy? So I'm playing the airport several months back, and I'm leaving, and I always hear other people and who's this, and I don't know if you played the airport or
many times, yeah.
Right, we all kind of share that, right? What a great gig!
It's a great gig, man.
We can't say enough things about Michael Dennis, the whole gang, and it's like, yeah, it really is, and there's so many fantastic artists up there. So I'm leaving, and I just hear this girl singing, and it's like a guitar player and her, and she's singing Crazy, the Gnarls Barkley tune, right? And I'm like, man, my God, this girl's voice is incredible. So I turned around and I'm like, I saw her Venmo and who it was. I looked her up and I hit her up and I said, hey, I saw you at the airport. I went and listened to her music. I was like, man, I love your music, big fan. Would you like to come on the podcast? And I tell Vic, hey, I met this girl, Ruthie Kraft, and Vic's just like, I know Ruthie. I did a commercial with her.
Yeah.
So it's such a small world, like how that
love
works.
That. I love when that.
Yeah, this is a Ruthie Kraft shirt. Let me see if I can. Vic will get the
cute.
The 19. Cool. The 19. This is
like
what
it.
I'm actually sitting here. I was like, oh, I'm gonna give Ruthie a shout out on the show. And
great song.
I had wore this at the gym. It's kind of one of the, and so I'm like, I'm actually sitting here like smelling my gross gym self. It just. You're welcome, Ruthie. Now, everybody go check out these great artists. Okay, so we're going to get to it with playlist.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what are some of your initial influences? Who made you want to sing when you were young? How did you even start singing? Did you have any big influences when you were a kid when you started all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think very early on, I started in church choir at age 3. I knew immediately how much I loved that. My wish was to be a singer from those days forward. But, it was really a lot of the early stuff. And I listened to a lot of my mom's music. My mom was a really nice singer, not a professional singer, but she really taught me to harmonize. And we would sing together all the time. And I have to say, it's going to be a little cliche, but one of her favorite records was the Rumors record, Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
And so I really learned to harmonize on those records. Also, the Hotel California Eagles record, the harmonies in that. I mean, I just
I agree.
We would sing that on and on.
Yeah, those are two of the albums that I didn't get a lot of influence, but I had the tape cassettes on the family trips that I did hear from my parents were So good. Vic's like, here he
Yeah.
goes. I've always harp on these, like, 10 albums. Those were two of them, Rumors and Hotel California. I think they both came out the same year, pretty close, 66 or 67. Seven,
Wow.
not 67,
70.
I was going to
77.
say.
77.
I was going to say, really?
Yeah. Oh man, I love Hotel California, that 1926 album. Can you pick a song from one of those?
Sure. I mean, what is my favorite Fleetwood? My favorite Fleetwood Mac song is Songbird. I love that song, and I actually play that sometimes when I play live, and that's
Cool.
a Christy McVie feature. It really spoke to me, and I think, I love, like, Stevie Nicks is everything, like everything
Christy
that
McVie's
you want to be.
amazing.
But
Yeah,
Christy was
amazing.
someone I really related to, just with the piano part of it, and she was a little bit understated, which I think my style sometimes is a little bit understated.
Yeah, it's a good way to
So
say
that
that.
was a real connection point. I think also, and then going on to Hotel California, I mean, so many good ones. Lion Eyes is amazing. I don't know. I think probably Lion Eyes or Take It to the Limit. That's another good one.
Oh yeah.
There's so many artists and musicians that just, it's hard to even identify who you love and listen to, but there's just so much.
What about now? I mean, having daughters, I mean, maybe you're exposed to music that you might not otherwise hear through your daughters. I mean, of course, we all know joking about Taylor Swift, we all know the really big names, but what is there anybody in the last decade or two, pop star, any kind of style really, that you've gone, wow, this person,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think probably early, and actually I discovered her, and now my kids went nuts over her a couple of years ago, but Phoebe Bridgers, that record that she came out, which was a reflection on, I keep thinking of Ryan Adams. He's coming up in these conversations, but because Ryan Adams also, he used to be one of my favorite artists, but he covered a ton of Taylor Swift songs. If you
I
want to
didn't know
hear,
that.
oh my God, check it out, because then I think you'll appreciate her songwriting more when you check that out. Back to, I'm sorry, now I lost my train of thought. Where was I going
Maybe
with
we'll
this?
put a Ryan Adams song on this playlist. Is there a Ryan Adams song you could pick?
Well, yeah, of course.
Wait, we were doing all females, so screw that guy.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
yeah. Well,
him.
it's about a woman named Amy. I love his song Amy. But anyway, he's not been great to women, so that's what that reflection piece is. Reflection record that Phoebe Bridgers wrote was her experience of working with Ryan Adams.
Okay.
That record is insane.
Check that out.
And I think the producer is the guy from, his name escapes me right now, but he's the guy from, I want to say Air Supply.
Wow. Okay.
It's so gorgeous. Phoebe Bridgers. And I would say, but influences from the girls. So there's a female-led band songwriter named Claro. She has a song called Bags that's really cool and killer that I could just listen to all the time.
I feel like someone might have just introduced me to them. How do you spell that? CLA?
CIRO.
Yeah, that sounds really familiar. Is it
really great stuff?
What kind of style is it?
It's kind of like my style. It's kind of indie.
Okay.
A little more kind of guitar heavy. But
right,
real clean. Vocals are great songwriting. And melodic content is just haunting. It's great.
I wonder if I know what I'm thinking, but I wonder Vic, give me a couple of female artists. You got anything? I wonder if I would know who you might pick.
We talking old school, modern, like, I mean,
anything.
I've got a few. So the Wilson sisters, Anne and Nancy Wilson, Heart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or Barracuda. Yeah. Straight on.
Heart is so good.
It's a great song.
And then they had that little side project where they covered some Zeppelin songs, the Lovemongers. But you'll see it as Heart.
Oh, I didn't even know that, but I did see that.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that video, the YouTube thing where like Robert Plant's getting teary-eyed and Ann Wilson singing Stairway to Heaven? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was the Kennedy Center one. So
yeah. Yeah, I saw that clip, but I need to see that documentary. It's on my list.
My only gripe with that video is that I wish they would just focus on like Zeppelin, the guys, and then the group performing, the Wilson sisters. I hate it when they cut to other people in the audience, like actors and politicians, and they're all
it's like who's
it's like
well,
just
cut to cut to Robert Plant, like that's acceptable.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like you can
Oh,
cut
yeah,
to
yeah.
a
No,
member
that's
of the
fine.
band, but I
Member
know
of
what
the
you mean.
band's-
It's like, and now here's Tom Cruise for no reason. Like, I don't know who was there, but
You're ruining my vibe. Stop.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't. Yeah, but that's a great one. So the Wilson sisters, I would say probably if I think about my younger days, Poe, Poe.
oh wow, yeah. I haven't heard that name in
I
a
can't
while.
remember what. Yeah, I think she's coming back. I think she's got another album. She had some legal issues with her record label about using the name or something. But I think I saw something about her coming out with a new album. But she was always awesome. And then let's see, a little more modern, Kendra Morris, or I think that's her name, Kendra Morris.
I don't know that.
She has one of the most awesome voices that I've heard. Her album Banshee is excellent. And then she did an album full of cover songs, and she's got Pink Floyd on there. She's got the Rolling Stones. She's got Metallica.
Awesome. Wow.
But Kendra Morris, and then I was gonna say Kate Bush, but she's been pretty popular again. I didn't
got that resurge from it Stranger Things?
Yeah, I didn't know this. I didn't know this, but David Gilmour, I guess discovered her, and then started working with her. That was kind of cool.
Wow.
She's so great. I love her, and I love Tori Amos is another.
Yeah, well, I saw that on your bio.
Yeah, both of them are big influences of mine too.
Any particular songs you could pick from those?
Well, I mean, the Kate Bush tune is "Don't Give Up" with Peter Gabriel's freaking amazing. Tori Amos, there's so many good ones.
She's so good. I've seen some live stuff. I've never seen her in concert, but she does the two pianos. I feel like Alicia Keys does that too, right? Where they have multiple pianos and they play at the same freaking time, like on two pianos.
I've seen her do it live. Tori Amos.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was recently. I saw her doing a duet with someone. I can't remember who it was. It was so good. Anyway, sorry. What?
I
saw her live
I saw her live at the Beacon Theater in New York City, and Rufus Wainwright opened for her. It was an incredible show.
I saw him. Yeah.
And it was just him on piano, and then it was just a solo show for her, but she did have two pianos that she played
in heels.
Yeah, in heels. Yeah, rocking it. She's such an inspiration. But I think, just for funsies, and I'd love for people to hear this, because I don't know how many people are listening to Tori Amos right now. She's got a newer record out. It came out a couple of years ago. And there's a beautiful song called Speaking with Trees.
Okay.
That's so good. And it's about losing her parents and how she can still connect with nature, and she speaks to her parents. And that's something I experienced around the same time that she did as well. So I think that was kind of something I connected with.
Just talking about artists and individuals. I mean, Tori Amos is a shining example of that. I mean, just some people, you have artists and then you have artists, right? Who are just like, and I think back to like the Tori Amoses or Bjork and people where I would just be like, gosh, they're so weird, but that's what makes them so beautiful. Like, it's just like, they're just so in their own, it's just next level, right? It's just so you're just owning yourself and your craft on a just such a higher level,
Yeah. Speaking of Bjork, if you want a great song to throw on your playlist, there's a song called "All Is Full of Love."
Okay. Yeah. Bjork.
And that's a great. Speaking of robots, there's a robot video for that record, and it is the most emotional. Like,
really?
Y'all have to just seek it out. Yeah. For that song.
Loving getting Bjork on here. I've always wanted to do a cover. I actually covered it was a drummer idea. We did a cover of, do you know her first album? I think it was her first album. There's this song on there called Isabel, and we did sort of a rocked out version of that song. It's an awesome song. Really cool. Song. Yeah. Really cool progression. We get nerdy for a minute. It's all there's the chorus, you got a few other chords, but it's all over this sort of palette of like textured sort of like B. It's like I think it's a B minor 6 and then a B minor major 7 and then a B minor 7 to the B. It's something like that. It's all just moving that one note around, and it's beautiful. The melodies, the way they play in that. Anyway, but I always thought Army of Me, I just love that song so much. I remember seeing Bjork in like the 90s, and there was a video, and I was like, God, who is this weirdo? And it was just like this. Remember the little teddy bear video? And it was like her in a forest, like on, doing the Bjork stuff and this little teddy bear on the road. And I was like, what in God's name is this? And then I just love Bjork though.
and it just worked.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's just so interesting, just fresh and different. Right?
And another artist, you're kind of leading me through this sort of journey, like by talking about these artists that who comes to mind is PJ Harvey.
Yeah, that's another
And
one I
she's
think
so
I saw.
killer. And I cover a song of hers called One Line, which is such a killer song. And Tom York is on that with her
Cool.
on her record
You
Stories.
cover a Bruce Springsteen song on the new album, don't you?
I do.
Dancing in the Dark,
Dancing in the Dark.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That got me. I have a lot of respect for the E Street Band, and I'm sure they're amazing in concert. I'm not the like gruff New Yorker dude who's just. I've kind of recently really gotten into Billy Joel. Well, I shouldn't say really, but I've gotten way more into Billy Joel, and I actually went back and I'd be like, oh God, New Yorkers and their Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen. It never ends, But I mean, I did see the Easy Street Band. I love Max Weinberg from back in the Conan O'Brien days.
Yeah.
And I saw there. I'm like, oh my God, I get it. What an amazing band. It's kind of like Frank Zappa. You're like, what? I mean, I'm not drawing a parallel between Frank Zappa and Bruce Springsteen because you can't possibly get different styles of music. But in terms of just having great bands, and I think that really says something about live music and seeing bands, because I might be the kind of guy who's not relating to the blue collar, Jersey worker stuff from Bruce Springsteen. But if I see something like that live, you're like, wow, I get it. That is so good. What a performance, but I haven't listened to a lot of his music. He's got some cool songs. A lot of it, I'm like, not really my thing. But I loved your cover. I thought it was great. It took me a minute. I was like, oh my God, is this a Bruce Springsteen cover? The way you did it was fantastic. And I think it was a mark. It goes to show like what you can do with a great song. You can treat it.
That's right.
And I was like, like even if you maybe didn't like Bruce Springsteen's version of that song, if you go listen to your version of that song, you can go, this is a great song, because a great song can be treated however you want to treat it. And so I really liked that cover you did of that song.
Thank you so much. And the way you describe that is what I always say too. If it's a good song, it can be played in any style and any genre. And that song, I always wanted to do that song because I felt like, it came out in the 80s and it was really boppy. And, there's so much melancholy in that song. And it's also a place that I feel like a lot of us have been in our lives, like just the lyrics are just super can hit home, right? And you just miss that in that production.
I agree.
And I love the original.
Yeah, I know, but you're so right. And I feel like what your cover of that is what a good cover can do for a song and can reinvent a song. Not that someone like Bruce Springsteen needs that, right? But it's like, a song like that, sometimes you treat something like that differently, and it's going to resonate. And someone like me, I might have dismissed the original one because it's like, it's 80s pop. I'm not really my thing. I mean, I do love some 80s pop. It depends, right? But when I heard your version, I was just like, oh, I love this. This is really great. And it felt more relatable, actually. It's very cool. I'll check out the PJ Harvey. I didn't realize it was a PJ Harvey cover. What album is that on?
It's Stories from the City.
The song is
called Stories
from
the Sea. Yeah, and the song is called One Line. It's such a great song.
Give me a Fiona song.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, Shadowboxer is everyone's favorite.
Everything she came out with on the front end was amazing, right? Like it was like a three-punch, because I immediately loved Shadowboxer. And
that
then
record is amazing. Anything from that record.
Anything. I love it. Was one of my favorite albums. And you got obviously Criminal, Sleep to Dream. A song I like on that where she showcases a high end of her voice, which you don't get a lot with her, is First Taste. What a great song and a great melody. So good.
Right?
Yeah,
go with that. There's so much good music. It's so hard.
Yeah, I know, for real. We're like, let's make a play. Like every now and then we get away with a playlist of like 10, 12 songs, but some of them it's just like, here's going to be like 2 hours of music.
Yeah, you're looking for songs, right? So I gave you an album.
Yeah, I mean, songs makes it easy, because then I'm like, another one I still want to throw out there is Massive Attack. Just Angel, or what's the tune? God, what a great tune. Do you know the come on, man. Hang on. What were you about to say though? What you were
Oh
about to
no,
say? Somebody?
I was gonna give you songs from the ladies I listed.
Oh
So
yeah, let me.
yeah.
Teardrop. Do you know that song, Amy?
I'm not sure.
Okay, Teardrop. Go listen to Teardrop by Massive Attack.
Okay.
Somebody told me, I don't know if it's stated on this podcast, but somebody told me that that song is about that the girl that sang it dated Jeff Buckley, and it's about him. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I heard.
Wow.
But nonetheless, an amazing vocal melody, and I great song. I'm going to throw that one
Okay.
on there.
Can't
It's one
wait
of
to
my
hear it.
picks. Okay, Vic, what you got?
Okay, so for hard, I like Straight On just because I saw a concert. I guess it was 2014 of them singing this song, and just
Cool.
Ann Wilson was just hitting all those notes.
Damn.
And it just, just that the vocals on that one are awesome. And she just fluctuates, goes low, high, just it's pretty awesome. The harmonies are pretty great. For Poe, I would say Haunted, I think is the name of the song on her second album. Kendra Morris, I like Waiting, or Concrete Waves, or they're both on that Banshee album.
Cool. I think I got songs for everything except for Claro. Got a song on that one?
Claro. Yeah, the song is called Bags,
Bags.
Bags. And Phoebe Bridger, what is the name of that song? Smoke Signals. So gorgeous. Gosh, there's so many. There's
I
another
know.
artist I'm listening to right now that I just love so much. And actually there's two artists I listen to so much while doing 1159. One of them, her name is Lizzie McAlpine. And she has a song called Ceilings, which is so beautiful. And then there's an artist, her name is Yeba. Have y'all heard of Yeba?
I don't think so.
It's Yeba is Abby spelled backwards, but she kind of got discovered like doing a lot of work with hip hop stuff like Drake. And so I heard of her through that, and I didn't really latch on to her, but then I started listening to some of her solo stuff, and it is absolutely stunning. And she has a song, October Sky, which will blow your mind, blow your face off. It's so gorgeous.
Speaking of kind of a hip hop, one of the guests we had not too long ago, ZZ Ward. Have you ever heard of ZZ Ward?
Sure.
Check her out. It's interesting because she's
artist.
No, I think she's out in Los Angeles if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay.
She's it's interesting because she was really influenced by, I think she grew up, I think her dad was like in a blues band. She started playing blues and was really into rootsy music, but also was into like, old school kind of 90s hip hop, like a lot of us probably were. And she had some really cool collaborations. Like she had Kendrick Lamar on a record for a guest track, and several like rappers, but she's got this cool thing where it's kind of an interesting combo of like she's kind of got the bluesy grit, but with like hip hop kind of vibe and beats. It's cool. Like I really dig her. Like not all of it's like that, but she's got an interesting, mix of stuff, and some of it's kind of got that vibe in there. Well, that's a pretty good amount, but you know what we forgot? We need to pick some of your songs. I mean, you're the guest, so what songs would you put on if this is an introduction to you? Like, what are some songs you would say, check these out?
Man, I'm kind of sick of Amy Atchley. I would love to put all my new material on there. Let me think about it. What do I want to put on there? Maybe
I like everything I heard. But I love, right out the gate, I love the first track. I'm looking, coming back to you on Spotify here. I love the first track on your new album.
Oh, Down to the Sound?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Another good one is the title track, which is called Sometimes Woman is King. You know what else is a really nice tune on there is, it's a song, it's pretty short, voice and piano primarily. It's called Lifeline.
Oh, the last track, yeah.
Yeah, the last track. Or what was the other one on there? Or you could do the Bruce Springsteen one too.
Yeah, I think I will put that on there actually. So maybe
because you liked that one so much, maybe you could do that one.
So maybe that and like the title track, and maybe we can do like 3 from that album.
Yeah. There's, if you want something a little more rocking, there's Love Light, and that was kind of the one that I was getting radio play on. It was kind of the single that you never know what they're gonna pick, but that was the one that was getting the love. It's called Love Light. Do you want others or from other records?
Throw me a couple of old ones.
Okay. Do you want kind of mellow or do you want like kind of rocking?
Doesn't matter.
I think there's one that might speak to you just in listening to some of your work that you might like some of the guitar on, called Pretty Muse. That's the guitar on that is amazing. And there's another really nice one called Star-Crossed Lover. Let me pick one from my Wish record, which was from New York. We could do Do You Want Me?
Okay. You know, one that caught my ear, because I had really I was like the first two albums I was like driving and like really focusing, and then the next two albums I was like listening to, I was like working on the computer. So, you know, it's like you're kind of listening, but you're not really like concentrating.
Peripherally.
But I do remember, and I don't know what it was about it. I remember feeling like, I don't know if epic's the right word, but there was some quality about it that I was like, oh, Cotton Candy really hit me. I remember looking to see
Candy.
I really like that one. Yeah, that's another one I dug.
That's a fun one. And there's another one too. I think it's kind of one of the hits too, called Strings of You. That's kind of epic.
Cool. We got this is gonna be a big playlist.
Got plenty of songs.
We'll just put all four of your records on the playlist, and then like a Bjork tune, and that's it.
Perfect. Sums it up. Love it.
Wow. I mean, you know, we used to ramble on and on and on these things, and it's easy to do. And it's talking with you, I feel like we could easily just keep going.
Same.
But then I've already missed half of Monday Night Raw, and you know, so. Okay, so this was our playlist that we are, you know, for International Women's Day. Do you have any gigs coming up? I think you did play on. Did you play on the 8th or no? Or you had something? I'm wrong, I guess.
Oh, you mean on the party day? No, I didn't play on. I did. My last gig was on the party day, which was at Kickback Coffee. But no, I didn't play. Played in my living room on my piano is what I did.
Is that the piano right behind you?
No, I mean, that's one piano. We actually have another one in the other front room. It's a baby grand that we've been babysitting. It started out as kind of, my mom's moving out of her apartment in New York. It's a 1925 Steinway.
Oh my gosh.
No anywhere else to put it.
That's a dream. Can you babysit my, yes, please? Like,
yeah, we were like, yes, please. And we thought it was going to be like 2 years. We'd had it for 12 years. And I actually got a record on that thing. And I do house concerts.
Cool.
Here sometimes, and it sounds amazing. But yeah, this is a sweet piano. I've written a lot of songs on it, but it's at the point to where it's tuned down a half step, and we cannot do anything to get it back up.
Are you talking about the piano behind you or the baby grand?
The one behind me. No, the baby grand is in pristine.
I've got an old upright that was given to me, and it's the same. It's actually tuned down a half step, and it's out of tune. But what I love about it, and I write on it, there are 1159 things that I have, several actually, that I've done on that piano. And depending on the song, sometimes I'm like, actually used it for a little line on an album because it had that just creepy, dark quality.
Yeah. It's a thing. Yeah,
it's like horror ragtime. You know what I mean? The sound of the piano, but it's perfect for a certain aesthetic. But yeah, so do you have anything coming up? Any shows on the calendar right now?
My next show is going to be in May at the Meridian, and I don't have a date yet because we're doing that little thing back and forth, but that's going to be my next performance.
All right. So, and of course, people can find you. They can Google Amy Atchley. .com. It's got everything you probably need up there, but you got to go follow Amy on socials and streaming sites and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. Every platform.
All the usuals, you know, dancing with the girls on TikTok, all that stuff, right?
All the usual. I'm actually not on TikTok, I'll tell you that.
I'll use it like once every few months, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have a TikTok that nobody cares about, and I'm not going to spend time learning another platform. But yeah. So, anything else you want to add? It's been great having you on here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm just thrilled that I'm able to still do music and, you know, keep following that dream. And thank you for connecting. I've met just so many wonderful people through this group, and now I've met you, Vic, as well. So it's just, you know, it's very cool.
Awesome.
Last thing before we go, what was that Taylor Swift song?
Which one?
Didn't you say you had a song that was like about?
Yeah, I think maybe it's called Summer. Let me look it up real quick.
It's probably about one of her old boyfriends.
Travis Kelce. I didn't see the Super Bowl. I was working the first half. I saw when I actually saw like at halftime the massacre score I was like, oh wow, that's unexpected. But didn't she like get booed or something in the beginning? Like I mean, if you're gonna get booed, but you can't take a being booed by Eagles fans personally. Like
That's
Eagles
true.
fans would boo their own mother. You know what I mean?
Eagles
So,
fans would boo the Pope. I mean, come on.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, there's Cruel Summer, but that's not the one I was thinking of. I like that one too.
I just want to get this girl some exposure.
She needs it.
She needs it.
What is it called? It's here it is. Oh, it's called Style.
Well, I have not heard that one.
You have.
All right. Yep. You're like, no, you live on the planet Earth. You've heard this song. You have ears. You've heard it. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, we'll put this together. And Amy, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really great to talk to you and get to know you a little bit better. Looking forward to seeing you live in future 11:59 endeavors. I'm sure I'll most likely see you at the Saxon Pub, or I don't know if you'll be around or not.
I'll be there for sure.
Yeah, I'll probably be there.
Plan on it. Yeah. You know what? Real quick before we go, I feel like I remember meeting you for the first time at 11:59 at Saxon Pub.
Probably.
Did you play not this past year, but the year before?
Yes.
Because the reason why I remember you had long hair then, right?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Because yours was my favorite song.
Oh, thank you so much.
And this is where I think you were wondering about me and Eli co-writing, because I did do some co-writing with him on that year, and I also did some with him last year, but I performed with him on stage before I was in the group. And that was the year that you played the piano, and I loved that song. That was my favorite song of the night. And I told you afterward. I don't know if you remember. I loved your song.
Wow.
Well, you're not going to remember.
I remember now known as, David Starbuckle actually telling me that Andrea's wife loved it too. And I ended up recording it. It's actually it's one of the few songs I've recorded under my name, and almost everything under my name, which is not much on Spotify, is from songs that I wrote in 11:59. And recorded most of those at Same Sky. But so I mean, Baby I'm Trying.
So
and
good.
Emily Shirley did the artwork for it. But
nice.
But so that now that you brought that up, it's funny because this is just 11:59 all the way. When I remember writing that song, I was in San Francisco and I submitted it, and then afterwards I was like, I knew I had a good chorus. Like the chorus was the thing, and the chords were fine and all that. But like I was like, oh, the verse is so bad. Like the lyrics were so bad. And I was embarrassed that I had posted it. And then I was like, I hadn't performed. And so I told Dave, and so I was like going to perform, and I was driving back from Houston to play the show, the set.
Oh, wow.
And I still didn't have new lyrics. I had humdummed it. I had just like had the chart and this and that, but I had not. I wrote lyrics in the car on the way to that, and then I went in there with like paper. Like it was really, really rough, but it was cool. It was encouraging that people were like, "Oh, that good song." I remember Dave even saying that was a good chorus hook. So yeah, I mean, it's a great example of just writing a song that I probably never would have sat down and wrote that. I mean, I like that song, and it means a lot. So I appreciate that.
You bet, of course.
Awesome. Very, very cool. All right. Well, now we'll let Vic do his Vic voiceover voice podcast.
It's just natural voice, bro. Natural talent. That's what it is. So
there you go.
Really always nice to meet some cult members from Skunks Club. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah. Thanks everybody. Catch us on the next episode. All right. Boom. Later. Bye. See you.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.